Pod. Good morning, Emma. Good morning, Wendy.
Morning.
So Wendy, we're really excited to welcome you as our first guest ever on the Emotions Unlocked podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's all bright and sunny out there. I think there's lots of snow in other parts of the country, but
Yes.
we've escaped down in Cornwall here.
Yes. Yeah. Oh,
So
yeah. In the
far.
right place. Exactly. So we've invited you on because you are also someone who works with energy techniques with EFT. And that's what we're doing really with the podcast, is to show people techniques, talk about different ways of doing things and how to help with emotion and process emotion and understand emotion. And what brought you to EFT originally?
Well, actually, I've always done sort of worked in the field of energy psychology, I suppose, always worked with energy. Einstein said everything is energy, and I think we all agree that he's right these days, even though it might have been quite radical at the time. And EFT was shown to me by a friend on a beach down here in Cornwall. She was visiting from London and just wanted to talk about it, and I was absolutely fascinated. From that beach, I then drove home. Jeremy Vine was on, and he was talking about EFT. I thought, oh, that's a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences, so a non-coincidence. And the following day, I took my then baby to the doctors, and there was a magazine lying around, and it was talking about energy psychologists, and it mentioned EFT. So
Oh,
in a
wow.
very short period of time, I had my magical 3, which is always what I look out for when I am interested in something and I'm looking for signs as to whether I should take that on or not. And the rest is history.
As they say, indeed.
21 years later, um, I'm still, don't think I've found a tool as powerful as EFT and its extension matrix reimprinting. And I continue to study and learn and grow. I'm now a trainer in EFT as well, which I absolutely am passionate about, because in a past life I was training in corporate, so that's a real treat to get back to
Oh,
that
wow.
as
Yeah.
well and be able to do that with EFTs. So
Amazing.
yeah,
It really is incredibly powerful, isn't it? Life
it,
changing.
it's life changing. And in actual fact, a little bit further down the line, when I was learning, I mentioned matrix reimprinting as this offshoot of EFT. When I was learning that, that really was a life changing moment for me.
Yeah.
And that spurred me on to really dedicate much more time into making those life changing differences for others.
Yeah. Well, which perfect lead on to what part of the reason you're here to talk about is fast and this incredible organization that you set up in lockdown. So tell us a little bit about that.
Right. Okay. Yes. Well, fast sort of like came about as one of those things at the beginning of lockdown where everyone was in a really bad way. No one really knew what was going on. And our frontline workers were suffering big time. They were really going through major, very sudden onset trauma. And I was asked by a friend if I could help her sister, who was in fact a sister in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Birmingham, which was where all that footage was coming out on the news. About how awful it was, how the whole of the NHS was really in crisis over this. With frontline workers were really just never seen anything like it. And when she came online, I remember the day, it's the 9th of April, actually, 2020. I remember it very clearly because she couldn't even talk. She was so traumatized. She was just frozen in that fear. There was no fight, flight. It was just freeze. And I started from where she was at, which, as you know, is what we do with EFT. And within 45 minutes, she not only had she unfrozen, but she'd babbled out everything that was going on there about how awful it was, how she was fearful of killing her parents, her children, how usually in the intensive care wards there were 2 nurses to every patient, and now there was 1 nurse to 5 patients, and she had to decide which ones to put her attention to, which ones were going to stay alive. It was chaotic. There were junior staff shouting and screaming orders to her because no one knew who was who in all their protective gear, and it was just a shambles. But actually, it all tumbled out. We were tapping. We were doing what we do best. And at the end of it, she just suddenly stopped and she said, "Do you know? I think I can go back to work tomorrow. This is what I
Wow.
need to do.
Yeah.
This is where I need to be." And I thought, what a difference in 45 minutes. And it was just one of those complete no-brainers. You know, when you know something, you just it just is. You just know it. And I knew that I had to do something, because if there was this one nurse, then there were lots of the same. And I individually wasn't going to be able to make the difference that needed to make and respond in the way that I knew that we could respond. So I decided to set up something. I put the call out to the EFT community. I got loads and loads of practitioners who, like me, wanted to do something over and above to put their energy and time and expertise in making the difference that they knew how to make. And I ran a pilot with several clients, nurses, doctors, various people. I had an ambulance worker to get the optimal offer going that we could do, which turned out to be 4 free sessions for anyone who accessed our support. Set up the website, set up the structure, set up a Teams thing, set up this, that, and the other, all within the space of a month. And off we went, launched and went on the way. And 4 years later, we're still around, and sadly, perhaps needed as much as ever, because the fallout now is quite horrific, really.
Yeah, it's still going on, isn't it? The effects of lockdown for everybody, but particularly people in that community. So FAST stands for Frontline Assistance for Stress and Trauma.
That's right. Yes. So we aimed it at the frontline workers. So we started off with the NHS workers, and then quickly realised we needed to expand it to the emergency services. The brilliant thing about FAST is that we're fast by name, fast by nature. We respond within 24 hours. It's usually within 12 to any request that comes in, and have a practitioner matched with that request as soon as possible to have the first session to suit the client. So it's really great in the world where there was very, very little mental and emotional support available, and really appropriate support available, because EFT, as I've just said, can work really. It comes into its own in those situations.
Yeah, and I'm a practitioner for FAST, and it's been incredible.
You are indeed.
to be there for those people who are in real need, and just give them a tool so they literally, as you just described, and go back to work, go back into the fray, and get on with it. That's what it was happening at the time, because there was no choice. People had to do it.
That was it. We made it 4 sessions. It doesn't sound very much, does it? But in actual fact, when I was doing the pilot, that first nurse was only 45 minutes, and I only saw her once. I did have a follow-up later on down the line, but mainly for her to just say thank you so much, and she spread the word, and word got here, there, and everywhere. But we had that. But yes, you're quite right. We did do a lot of getting people back to work, who were often with stress-related illness, but basically complete overwhelm and panic. We helped people stay at work, which was really, really important when they were feeling like they might not be able to. So we helped along the way. We helped massively with staff retention and reducing the sickness things. So it had a wide effect on organisations as well.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because when you're at the front line of something, when everything's very extreme, that ripples out into the rest of society as well, doesn't it? and everybody went through something, but they really were on the front line of it. But what was I going to say? I was going to ask about well, we talked about PTSD, and you found a new definition for that, didn't you? As a an organization, post-traumatic stress
Right.
disorder has been
Yes.
redefined as ongoing stress response.
Right. Okay. Yes. So that came later on down the line when we were basically we had a mission in FAST. Our first mission was to help as many people as possible that came and requested our support, and somehow we managed to do that. It was hectic, it was busy, but it soon became apparent that because we were getting such great results, that in actual fact we'll make another mission to raise awareness and acceptance and usage of EFT. This was the golden opportunity that was around to get the EFT word out there, because at the moment, and I think this will change shortly, it's not NICE recognised yet being the operative word. It takes a protocol, a journey of 10 years to get something NICE recognised, and we're coming towards the end of that 10-year journey. But yes, so I wanted to get it out there as much as possible and approached various organisations, one of which was the Gloucestershire Police Constabulary, who took us on board with their welfare officer, who was able to keep confidentiality, which was an absolute key thing for FAST, and made us so successful because those who requested our support could come with guaranteed confidentiality. It helped them to open up much more and much more quickly for us to get the results. Because even though within the organisation, although it's said to be confidential, there's still a little bit of a lack of trust there. It's still got the stigma of it's not okay to not be okay. And if you're seen to be struggling with mental health at work, that could jeopardise your career, it could jeopardise your relationship with your colleagues, etc., etc. But during these trials with the Gloucestershire Police, we realised that there was a lot of post-traumatic stress disorder going around, and that needed some extra special attention. And all our practitioners were advanced trauma trained, so that was and trauma experienced, so that was wonderful. But we realised there was something that was just stopping us from getting those results as quickly as possible. And I had a look at the term post-traumatic stress disorder, and I thought, hang on a minute, I don't think this is the right term. For a start, it's not post. We use post-traumatic stress disorder because actually it came into existence during the Vietnamese, with Vietnamese veterans back in the day. And of course, then it was post. The war had ended and people were left with these symptoms. But with the frontline workers, it was continuing. It was continuing. They were still having to go out there. They didn't know what was going to happen. Every day they got up, went to work, they didn't know what was going to go on there. And of course, if they'd had a traumatic experience, then they're holding that in their bodies, just, basically waiting for the triggers to happen while they're at work. So post didn't seem appropriate. We changed that to continuous traumatic stress or continuing traumatic stress. And then we had a look at the D for disorder. And that was the biggest key. When people think that they have a disorder, it's a label, they're labelled, that's it. Right, okay, well, there's no hope for me now. And a common belief is that once you've got PTSD, well, you can learn how to manage it, perhaps you can learn how to cope with it, but it'll always be there. It's just a case of just just trying to carry on with life.
It implies there's something wrong with you, doesn't there? Disorder.
Absolutely, there's something wrong with you, and so you believe in that label. Labels are put there; they tend to stick. So, in actual fact, I thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting if we just changed that word around? I wonder what we could call it that would take away that sort of like stigma-y thing around it. And so we called it a response, because a continual traumatic stress response made it perfectly normal to feel these things that were happening when you're at work and something absolutely horrific and distressing and traumatizing happens. You are perfectly normal. And it normalized that response in people. And you could see the relief in there when you actually put that forward. And suddenly these people were getting more engaged. They couldn't wait for their next appointment. they were almost seeing it like a physical injury. This is
Yeah,
just a mental injury, and we can recover from physical injuries, can't we? So
absolutely.
actually, maybe there's hope, and we can recover from those mental ones as well.
Yeah.
And it just added, honestly, the acceleration we got there. So we started to do some research with the university researcher Sunita Patani, so that we could get this out there as a paper, to just throw out the possibility and show how important perception is. The way you see something, the way you perceive something, which is something I've always been fascinated from quite an early age, actually. How that the power that different perceptions can make.
Yeah. Which is your name as well, Wendy Power.
Wait, it's my maiden name. Yes, you probably see on the screen. It's Wendy
Wendy
Power
Power.
Stoten. Yeah, it's not
I
me
always think
trying to
that's
be sort of.
fabulous about you.
It's not me trying to be flash or anything. My maiden name was Power, and I didn't get married till I was 38. So most of my early career, everyone knew me as Power. So I kept it in there just so
Yeah,
that I didn't
good.
suddenly disappear off the face of Earth. But,
Oh, it's perfect.
uh,
Good. So, as you said, there's still a lot of need for FAST. We're still working hard with people who are on the front line, still coping with what's going on for them. And how else is that impacting the world, do you think, around other people, like normal clients, if I can say that, who aren't frontline? You know, everyone's still well, a lot of people still have impact from lockdown, from the pandemic. And I remember working with a nurse in Liverpool who was on one of the COVID wards, and she said, I'd never felt anxious in my entire life until everything was fine until COVID hit, and it changed her. She said, I
yeah,
never felt, and that happened, as I said, when you're on that extreme front line, that's kind of, it's big, but it happened to everybody. Some people never felt anxious for other reasons. I know people are going back to work, suddenly anxious going on the train, never having felt that, having done commuting for 20 years. Suddenly they're going back to it and they're scared. It's
yes.
fascinating, isn't it? What happened?
It's fascinating. It's really worrying, and it means that our work's cut out. That's for sure.
Yeah.
To try and help people with these blocks that have suddenly appeared in their energy system, disrupting their energy systems.
Yeah.
So our job is to just realign and get that all flowing again. So
Yeah.
and yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I think the reason we think about the pandemic and we think about that lockdown, that first lockdown, but of course it kept coming in waves, and we've probably forgotten that now. But we had that first wave, and then there was a little bit of a lull, and then we had that second wave, and perhaps I'm more conscious of it because of FAST, because I could see that actually the number of people coming in requesting was like going down, and then suddenly it would shoot up again. And, we had those that had survived the first wave on the front line again, just as you mentioned, the nurse there, who were going, well, we managed to survive that first time. I don't think we can do it again. I
Yeah.
don't think we can do it again, because now we know what
What's coming?
happens.
Yeah.
Now we know what happens. We were completely naive before, but now we know what happens. We don't think we can do it again.
Mm.
We had all of that stuff with all the care homes as well, which was just like really unsung heroes in those care
Mm.
workers, really unsung. They had to go over and above in the service that they had to offer on minimum wages. So we got a lot of care workers because, of course, our service was offered free of charge. I should
Yeah.
have mentioned that. Free of charge for everyone. So that was so heartening, being able to help them. But as you say, sort of like that ripple out effect on all levels. There were even more waves. There was the whole thing. Oh my goodness, one of the biggest waves that we had was when the mandatory vaxes were brought forth, and the care home workers had to go through that,
Mm.
which was really traumatizing. And then the potential for the NHS, the nurses, things to go through that was phenomenal
Mm.
time as well. So it's all of these waves. It's that accumulation, isn't it, of
Yeah.
things?
Absolutely.
And I don't know about you, but I think one of the most worrying is amongst children. Don't know
Mm.
how you feel there, is just seeing the effect that it's had on children.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard something that there are sort of 2, 3, 4-year-olds going to school that were still haven't learnt to use the loo, and their hips hadn't developed properly because they were lying on the sofa too much and not out and walking and exercising and things because everyone had to stay at home. They didn't develop like even that, that's incredible that happened.
You wouldn't think that it would be that far reaching. That isn't something that I would ever think about, but it was, wasn't it? Because we were home all the time. And I think when your sovereignty is kind of taken away and your freedoms and things like that, it's so, not just the physical side of it, but mentally and emotionally, it's so disempowering. So I'm thrilled that you're doing what you're doing, because I think it's so important for everybody to see that there is help out there. It must have been so scary for so many people.
Yeah, no, I think that's it, and also effective help, effective support. Something that was going on there. The NHS waiting lists were like 10 months. I think they still are about 10 months for mental health and things, and that for people that are supporters, they are the last ones to ask for help. They just carry on and carry on. So when they do ask for support, it has to be now, because they really should have had it probably about a year ago. So when they ask, it's got to be now, not like, okay, well, I'll put you on a waiting list. Sadly, that's caused, a lot of the statistics in rise of suicide and things like that, especially amongst young people and young workers, young men especially, isn't there? And so I think that's really, it's something that's quick, that's effective, that usually is long lasting. And of course, one of the best things about EFT is that it's really, really easy to learn. So our remit amongst our fast practitioners was like, start off straight away, no long gathering of information or anything, just start, as I did with that nurse. She couldn't move. She was frozen on this on Zoom there. But I just started tapping, and I just started tapping for her. Right here, right now, you're safe. Right here, right now, in this place, you're safe. And eventually I could see her start sort of like blinking a little bit, and then she just naturally joined in and tapped with me. And that was able to release those first things. And by the end of 45 minutes, she had a self-help tool. And so many of the people that we've helped said, oh, it was really great. I took it into work, and in our huddle in the morning before our shift, I taught everyone how to tap so that we were all tapping together beforehand. And one in the police service, one girl was tapping after her shift so that she didn't have to take it home to her family, because that far-reaching effect also, it's not just the person involved, it's how it affects all of their family when they take that home with them. So to be able to release that before you go home, and other police officers were joining in with her just because they could visibly see, it was tangible, the difference that it was making. So that's really brilliant.
It's incredible. Oh, wow.
Can I ask a quick question? I've just noticed something that's really, because I'm an EFT trainer, I know since 2017, and the original I deeply and completely love and accept myself thing as it was done, I don't actually use that, because what you just said was right here and right now, I'm safe, seems to be the predominant thing. I mean, for the people that you're dealing with, but actually overall as well, for anyone who might be listening to this who thinks, well, I'm not a frontline worker, I don't work in a care home, don't worry about it, because you can still do the exact same thing, can't you? Maybe just tap on the collarbones and say, right here and right now, I'm safe. Look around the room and prove it to yourself, And I think that switch from something that somebody can't necessarily even say to just dealing with it in the moment, that I'm safe right here right now, I'm not under threat, I think that's hugely more, what's the right word, supportive for the nervous system, regulation wise, than trying to get them to say something that might even open a can of worms, right? So it's
and people are so programmed to like, well, just hold on to it and get through it, just hold on to it, get through it, and I'll be okay, get to the other side. It's like, you don't have to hold on, you can you can release it from your body.
We know that fight, flight, freeze response is setting off, don't we? That it's triggering off, and it's working through our system, and that just basically is put there because the perception is we're not safe. You know,
Yeah.
that whole fight, flight, freeze, the amygdala's kicking off because it's trying to protect you, bless it. You know, and back in the old caveman days, yes, it was actually real danger. Now, most of it is perceived danger. Fighting's inappropriate. Running away is often not an option. So freeze is often the one that's left there. And the first thing to do is get that safety done. You really can't go, someone with trauma, you can't go anywhere at all. You're not going to make any progress until they feel safe. So that's your number one thing to do. But as you say, Emma, you know, that can be with anyone as well, because we're all, whenever we have that fight, flight, freeze response, it is always that it's not safe, something's not safe.
Yeah.
So it's a great starting point. I use it more and more and more as that starting point, and then it naturally progresses onto those other things, and you accelerate the speed of your results.
Absolutely. And the whole process, I find, with EFT and all these kind of techniques is so intuitive. It is just, it's a process, it's a flow. You start with what your body's telling you right now in the moment, and then you change that bit, and then you change the next bit. Your body knows what's coming next. It knows what, you know, once it's been acknowledged and the process, well, okay, I'm safe. Right. What is the problem? Oh, I've hurt my foot, you know, or something, whatever it is, or I'm worried about that. Once you've taken down that first layer of panic, it's like going back to the cave and going, okay, I've just been in a big fight. Am I still here in one piece? What do I need to fix first? And then layer by layer by layer. And when I'm working with clients, I always say it's a bit like carving out of a block of stone. So you take the big bits off first, and then you get finer and finer and smaller details. So it's like the big traumas, then smaller, 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 until you're like, oh yeah, I got up a bit late this morning. That was annoying. Rather than I can't leave the house because I'm terrified. You know, that's that progression to being, I'm safe right here, right now. I'm doing well. I'm living the life that I want. A lot of people are a lot far away from that.
So going from that general, then becoming more specific as and when you're able. And of course, as practitioners, we know that we've got special techniques to do that, like sneaking up on it, or so things along those lines. But I think you're absolutely right. And something that reminds me there, Jemima, when you were talking, was how absolutely tailored EFT is. So we can go along with scripts, and there are some wonderful YouTube videos out there. I mean, I'm a fan of Brad Yates, but when you listen to his YouTubes, they're terribly simple. They're very general. And I think that when we're working with clients, the most wonderful thing is being able to acknowledge that each of us is the unique sum total of absolutely everything that's ever happened to us. It's not a one size fits all. We can't go, oh, right, okay, you've got that problem, so right, let's apply that to it. It's this uniqueness that after 21 years keeps me absolutely passionate, fascinated, wanting to learn more, wanting to do my best. And someone said to me, actually, someone that was talking to me about it just before Christmas, and they said, don't you get a bit same thing all the time? Don't you get a bit sort of like fed up with it? It's like, you're kidding me.
Never.
When I have a new client, my first thought is, I really hope I'm going to be able to help this client. I really hope that that you know that things go the way I know they can go, because there's no guarantee. Everyone is fresh, everyone's new.
No two sessions are ever the same.
No, don't take anything for granted. Anything for granted. I just find it absolutely fascinating how tailored and specific, and hence again the quick results that we can get.
I feel like we should do some tapping. We've been talking about it. Should we just do a couple of rounds and just tap? There are the different types of EFT, aren't there? I tend to use heart-centered EFT, where you start with your heart and you breathe into your heart, and then you tap through the point. So I start on the top of the head. Some people start on the eyebrow.
I start on the eyebrow. That's how I was
some people start on the side of the hand. It doesn't really matter. Some people I know only use the collarbone.
Yes.
Which is fascinating. All of it works. Really, it's about acknowledging and moving. The tapping is moving energy through the bodies, and it's clearing blockages in the energy system. And when you focus with the words, you're focusing on the problem. And that specificness is what makes it so effective.
Yes, so, and I think that connection as well, that whole mind-body connection. Absolutely. I was, you know, having a client start tapping off straight away, just showing them the points and saying, actually,
Yeah.
you're giving your body a bit of a workout doing this. You
Yeah.
are connecting. We know that this points to the bladder.
Yeah.
What's the emotion connected with bladder? Well, feeling a bit pissed off. Well,
Yeah.
no surprises there then.
Exactly.
And going around and doing that, you know, you're waking up. So your body's going, oh, what's going on here? Oh, am
Yeah.
I being included? How wonderful is that? Good,
Someone's
because
listening to
we've got
me.
this
Yeah.
inextricable link between that mind body, that metaphysical
Yeah.
stuff. So I think that's again a great thing to give your whole body a workout.
Absolutely. It reduces cortisol levels in the blood, doesn't it? There have been lots of different experiments. It changes your breathing. But the more I tap, you just start tapping and the body goes, oh yeah, and my breathing changes immediately. And if I'm doing a demo or a talk, I suddenly realize I'm getting very chilled out and I'm just, oh yeah, I'm working, sorry. But no, it's so, because your body, like any habit, it kicks in, it knows what it's doing. So when you start
Yes,
tapping, your body goes, oh great, you've heard me, it's time to release.
Yeah.
So the more you do it,
yes.
the less you need to do it.
Yes, you mentioned I've got this book over here. It's called A Metaphysical Anatomy. It's got the best strap line ever on that book, which is "Your body's talking. Are you listening?"
Yeah.
And I think you've just hit the nail on the head there, Jemima, because it's your body sort of like going, "Oh, great, I'm being listened to. I'm being listened to. It's safe. It's safe to let go. It's safe to be heard."
Yeah.
It's safe to explore this. It's safe to discover what's behind all of this. So that again, that adds, as Emma was saying, that adds to that whole safety factor of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah,
To be able to
absolutely.
get that progress.
And as you said, it's perceived fear. You know, you turn the lights on, the monster under the bed is a pair of boots. It's not a monster. That's what we're doing as well. When you acknowledge
I
parts of the
love
body
that.
feel very young, very frightened, and very primal, isn't it? That reptilian brain kicks in. That's the oldest part, isn't it? The reptiles, fight or flight. Oh, no, you're actually okay. You're actually safe. Oh, okay, great. And the body listens and relaxes.
It's
Yeah,
funny because when I'm talking to people about this, I tend to come at it from a very kind of, I suppose, sciencey angle, in the sense of I talk about the amygdala and the stress response, cortisol and whatever. But what also really resonates with people, and what I love about what you're doing, Wendy, is the slowing down of the brain waves and the prefrontal cortex coming back online, so you can actually think straight again. Because the biggest part of what people have identified that I've found is they're going, front line, especially if you're in that situation. I can imagine it must be so hard because you're fighting that all the time, right? This has gone offline. It's gone for a pina colada because you're that stressed out. You're in fight and flight.
mm,
And so then when this comes back online, it's like, okay, yes, this is going on over here, and I can still be resilient. I can still make clear decisions from a regulated place. And
yeah,
that's so important. And I think part of what I'm doing is spreading the information about that, because we're not taught that, are we?
yeah,
So when you're doing that for the people right at the front line of stuff and all the people who take care of us all, I think that is so, so valuable that they can do it without all the white knuckling and sort of feel more in control at the
Yeah.
same time.
And when they are going through it, they are working, they're at, ambulance worker attending an event, they are the calm in that storm. But afterwards, that's got to come out somewhere. I witnessed a car accident a couple of years ago, which was horrible. And all through the day, I was like, I wonder when this is going to hit me. This is like, I know I've got some trauma to process. And I got to about 7 in the evening. I was like, oh, here it is. And then all the emotion came, and I was like, and I was able to work through it. But all day I was like watching myself going, well, I'm very calm. I handled that really well. I know there's something I need to do. And then when I let it come, it came, and I processed it, and that was that. Well, it wasn't quite that, but you have to
yes,
know that it's coming and acknowledge it, because often we just carry on and we don't do that. We
yeah,
don't do the
yeah, yeah.
processing.
Yeah.
And then it remains stuck.
Yeah.
So we
Puts on the
just
pile.
continue and we get on with it. We manage, we cope, we whatever, until we're knocked out by it because something else happens. Different face, different scenario, different whatever, but the underlying issue is the same.
Yeah.
And I always think they're always golden opportunities for learning and growing and
Yeah.
evolving. So
Because
again, that shift in perception away from, oh my goodness, no, not again, or why me, or I can't handle it, I can't cope with it. It's just like, actually, maybe, just maybe, when we've calmed down that cortisol that you mentioned, we've dialed it down. As we're dialing it down, we're getting more and more clarity coming back, so that we can see things in a different way. We realize we've got that choice, or maybe I can choose to see this in a different way. And actually, okay, so what's the learning that perhaps I'm meant to be getting from this? And you know, then it becomes transformative.
Matrix reimprinting you mentioned a few times, it's just a part of EFT. So matrix reimprinting is going back into the past, into memories, and resolving the trauma from the past, or emotions from the past. And that could be the first day of school, could be incredibly traumatizing, difficult for a lot of people. I mean, you just get through it and you carry on, and you learn not to cry, and you learn that school's okay, actually. But that 4 or 5-year-old part of you is still there. So every time you go into a similar situation, or it comes around to September and you feel a bit anxious, wonder why I'm feeling anxious. It's because that little part of you is going, excuse me, I'm still here waiting to be released, basically. So we've all got energy, all these memories that we've, as you say, with the sum of our experiences. We've all got moments that need releasing.
Yeah.
Big or small.
And I think it's, I don't know whether you've mentioned it before, but that the importance of that 0 to 6 or 0 to 7, some people say, of that pre-conscious, that pre-conscious, where we're just sponges. We're not there going, oh yes, okay, I think I'll take that on board. Oh no, I don't like the look of that, I'll keep that back. We just take everything on board, and that is when our blueprint beliefs are laid down with that very limited amount of information and control, self-control, that we actually have to as inputting on them. They just are there as our blueprint beliefs.
And there's some real black and white thinking, isn't there? It's like,
absolutely,
like, that's good, that's bad, okay, decision.
And was it Bruce Lipton? And was it Bruce Lipton that said that over 90% of our daily actions are based around our beliefs? And if our beliefs were set, our blueprint beliefs were between 0 and 6, are they serving us well here today, really, with everything else that's gone on?
Exactly.
And yet there they are, still doing that same old,
I'm not good enough, I can't cope,
not safe, it's not safe, it's
I'm
not
naughty.
safe.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So
we are so lucky, aren't we, to be doing this. We really are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing. It's life-changing. It's life-changing. And you know, that's heartening. One of that's a constant. When we set up FAST, I decided that we needed to get evidence that it's working, basically, so we could see how we could improve. Another of my principles in life is Kaizen, which is the Japanese for continual improvement. I lived over in Japan for a few years and sort of always was fascinated how that was a real company within a company structure, that whole Kaizen thing that helped that continual improvement right from ground level to the top. But yeah, so we took measurements, we collected all the results together, 100% positive results still today, 100% positive results from everyone. But we're always getting that life-changing, life-saving comments coming from people.
Absolutely,
with what we do. I mean,
thank you for doing what you do, because that is just phenomenal. Absolutely.
Well, we're all doing it. We're all doing it, whether it's with FAST, with those clients, or whether we've got our own private clients. You know, that is the aim, isn't it? Really, to do that life-changing stuff.
Absolutely. So if people want to know more, just tell us the website.
The website is www.fasttraumasupport.org.uk. So fast trauma support, all one word, all lowercase, .org.uk.
Fabulous. So people can donate, people can find out if they can pass it on to people if they know anyone who needs help. So and just
absolutely
support, want to know more.
Absolutely, and both sides. Yes, we're still running. It's still completely voluntarily. It got very big for 2.5 years of that. It just took over completely, not just my working life, but life a bit. We've always done it on a volunteer basis. So we really appreciate any donations that come in to just help us with our ongoing running costs and things, because they're things that have to be paid for, like insurances and websites and basic calendars and all sorts of things like that. So yeah.
I know how much you put into it, and it's incredible. So
it's
thank you.
It's been a wonderful journey. I wouldn't have missed it for the world.
Good. Well, thank you so much for coming on and telling us about it. And yeah, amazing. Such a privilege to be part of it as well. It's just that when you're actually working with people who really need it, it's you know, why we're here, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah. Well, again, Jemima, you know, it wouldn't happen without the practitioners. And whilst we're not as busy as we were, we've carried on with FAST. We're now a community interest company. We've carried on because we've got the structure, we've got something that really works in place. We are still very keen to do that mission 2, which is spread the word, get EFT more mainstream. And with that, you know, I've managed to blag my way into the NEC for the last 3 years to have a free stand. And on the 2 occasions, I was very lucky because most people only ever get to make 1 presentation. I've made in the first year, 2021, made a presentation on the learning and development stage. We had the opening presentation, and then 22, I was on the health and coveted health and wellbeing stage, which was great. And last year, managed to blag a double stand, which like gave us a real air of authority. It was amazing the kind of people that were coming up to talk at us, because we had this big front there and we were doing demos. So we were inviting people to just take 5 minutes and show what a difference we could make, even in 5 minutes, even in this busy, crowded emergency services show with all the noise and all everything going on around, how even then, with that around, they could get a result.
Yeah.
So that was really incredible, actually. I loved it.
Yeah, fabulous. Good. Oh, wow, thank you. We will post all the links, and if anyone has any questions, we'll if we can post your contact details and things so people can get in touch directly with you. Is that okay?
Yes, of course. Yeah,
fab.
definitely. That would be most welcome.
Great. Well, thanks so much. And yeah. So thanks again. It was brilliant. Really interesting, fascinating.
Really, honestly, thank you for having me. I feel very privileged to be your first guest, I hear, as well on the show.
Absolutely.
I know. What an honor. What an honor. No, really it is. And thank you for thinking of me and for giving me this opportunity. I just think what you 2 are doing is amazing as well, spreading that word and making that difference, and, you know, getting out there and
just we could do this all day. We're all great.
We're all great. We're all wonderful.
Oh, thanks, Wendy. Lots of love. I'll speak to you soon.
Okay. All right. Bye for now. Bye-bye.